It was the first time I'd seen someone pull a costume out of their bag. Have you ever wondered what it's like to attend a Broadway open call? Maybe you're an actor just getting started and you want to understand what auditions are like. Or maybe you just really love musical theater and you want to peek behind the curtain. Well, in either case, you're in the right place. If you're new, I'm Sabrina, an actor based in Chicago with big Broadway dreams. This week, I attended the Wicked open call, and let's talk about it. Recently, the Telsey casting office announced that they were doing an open call for Wicked in Chicago for their Broadway and national tour productions. Now, if you don't think you know who Telsey is, you definitely know the projects they've worked on. They've cast for the most recent Little Mermaid movie, the In the Heights movie, also TV shows like Only Murders in the Building, the Sex and the City reboot. They're a big deal. For anyone who's ever been to a theater audition before, a little bit of chaos comes with the territory, especially if it's for either a really big show or for a big production company. But this was on another level. But what exactly is an open call, and how is this different from a regular audition? For regular theater auditions, you would normally go to a studio that the theater has rented for these auditions, and you would either sign up in advance if you're part of the union, or if you're not, you would get there and you would sign up and wait in line. Now, I could do a whole long video on the status of different actors and how you join the union. Let me know if you want me to, but I'll save that for another time. At these regular auditions, if you're part of the union, you would get priority and you get to audition first. And if you're not, then you wait until all of the union members have gone and then you can sing or dance or do your monologue. But an open call? That's open. It's a free-for-all. Anybody can go. So essentially for an open call, you would go to the audition location, get in line, and it's very much first come, first serve. Whoever's in line first, regardless of union status, regardless of if they've ever been in a musical or if they're just someone who decided they saw a line across the street and wanted to join it, anybody can come audition and sing for the casting team. So it's wonderful because you have a casting team who's traveled there, which means that they actually are looking for some talent, and they're able to see a lot of talent that maybe couldn't make it to New York or maybe isn't part of the union, so they wouldn't get a chance to be seen at a regular audition. But it also means that there are a lot of people who have shown up just because they want the audition experience. So essentially what this means is it's a whole lot of fun chaos. So here's what my experience was like. This open call was from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And on the instructions it said, please do not arrive before 10 a.m. However, from the other vlogs I've seen of open calls and from word of mouth in the city, I knew that people would get there early. For some regular auditions, there are non-union people who show up to these studios at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't gonna do that, but I figured I should at least get there a little bit early just in case there's a line. So I aimed to get there around 8:30, 8:45. And when I arrived, around 8:30, I was already number 85 in line. I actually assumed the line would be much longer, but I was not mad. According to an unofficial sign-up list that was on the door, there were people that got there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Couldn't be me. Because I got there at 8:30, I figured I had about an hour and a half of time before I'd be anywhere close to the front of the line. So I was taking my time, relaxing, caught up with my sister on a phone call, and then out of nowhere, security comes outside and says, hey, we're gonna start moving people in 10 at a time. Which for me, being number 85, I figured, no problem, I still have tons of time. Except I look down and I look back up and all of a sudden there are 40 people that have moved. I look down at my watch and it's only 9 a.m. and I have a full view of the front door. So all of a sudden I go from calm, cool, collected to panic. I'm sitting down on the sidewalk outside, frantically pulling makeup out of my bag and shoving foundation onto my face and trying to put mascara on with a tiny little mirror that I brought. We make our way into the lobby, up the elevator, and into the studio where the auditions are to be greeted by no one. There was no one up there. So basically we just started forming a line in the hallway, trying to stay in the same order that we were in outside. And then we waited and waited and waited. So because it was still an hour before the auditions were supposed to start, there wasn't anybody from casting there yet. And so the building personnel was there helping us find the restroom and letting us know where water fountains were, but even they weren't really prepared for all of those people to be there. And what we ended up finding out was that in addition to the 200 of us that were upstairs waiting to be told what to do, there were about 400 people waiting outside in line still to come in, but they couldn't come in because of the fire code. Someone from the building staff even said that this was the most people they've seen at an open call that they've done at that studio. The power of Wicked! The Telsey team did end up arriving around 10 o'clock, and they let us know that there was a questionnaire to fill out where we could put our contact information. We could also attach our headshot and resume. And then they basically told us to hang tight, which we did. Which we did for about another hour or so. Now, if you're wondering how people were keeping their voices warm for these auditions after hours and hours of waiting, for me, it was light humming and using my nebulizer. For others, it was giving a full concert in the bathroom. How did we know when it was our turn to audition? Well, when we turned in the questionnaires to casting, we were then given a number. And remember earlier when I said that we came upstairs and we tried to stay in order? It didn't work. It didn't work at all. So basically we all turned in the questionnaire at different times and everybody got new numbers. So I ended up going from number 85 to 157. But at that point, it didn't really matter. We'd been waiting for so long, I was just happy to have a number. Once the call officially began, names were called out in groups of 10 and we were asked to go sing in different rooms. Now, yes, this was a studio meant for the performing arts. However, it was a dance studio. So these rooms weren't exactly soundproof. You could basically hear everybody's audition as you were just walking down the hallway. And even once you got into the room, you could hear people singing in the room next door. That's not distracting at all. Around 11 o'clock, we made it into the hundreds, and right around 11:45, my name got called. My group went to go line up, ready to go into the room one by one. We could of course hear everybody that was singing inside. Remember earlier when I said that open calls are open for really anybody to show up? Well, it's gonna bring some firsts. And for me, it was the first time I'd seen someone pull a costume out of their bag. The person in front of me in line, right before she went into the room, pulled a cloak out of her backpack, threw it across her shoulders, threw the hood on, and opened the door to go inside. That's something. They do say as an actor, you gotta make bold choices. So for these auditions, we were asked to sing 16 bars of a song a cappella, which is not normal for theater auditions. Normally you would bring in your book with sheet music. Sheet music is usually required. You would hand it to the accompanist and they would play the music along while you sing. So what this meant was we would enter the room, silence. They would ask, what are you going to sing? And you would have to start singing. You have to remember what pitch you want to start at. You have to block out the noise from the person singing in the room next to you and just go for it. So nothing's more nerve-wracking than wondering, am I starting on the right note before you even get started? After singing a cappella, some people were asked to stay and sing again with the accompanist, and some people were invited to callbacks later in the week. As for me, after arriving at the audition at 8:30 in the morning, I made my way home 4 hours later, passing tons of people still on the sidewalk outside. Now there were still people outside waiting around 2 o'clock when they officially cut the line off, but if you were in line at that point, you could still audition. I know of one person who couldn't get there till 10:30 a.m. and didn't end up singing until almost 4 o'clock. So the lesson here is if you can get there a little bit early, and I don't mean like 5, 6 a.m., but if you can get there a little bit early, definitely do that. Would I attend another Wicked Open Call? Honestly, not sure. It was really great being able to sing in front of a New York team without having to go all the way to New York. It was also really nice being able to just practice auditioning, especially a cappella, because that's not something that we normally do. And I have to say, one of the highlights was definitely some of the people that I met in line there. There were people that had driven in that morning or taken the train from Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, and everybody was just so happy to be there and made for such a calm waiting time. Now, the environment around us was chaotic, but the people that were right next to me in line were some of the nicest human beings, and everybody was just rooting for everyone else to do well, which sadly is not always the environment at auditions. Looking ahead, I'm excited to bring you even more theater content, and if there's something specific you want me to talk about, whether it be Chicago theater or auditions, just let me know down in the comments. Thanks again for joining me on this adventure, and until Broadway calls, let's all make the world our stage.